So now just to take a quick look at the gradebook, I have this demonstration gradebook populated with attendance testers and demo users, but you'll see, as you're accustomed to seeing, the student's name, username, their ID, their last access of the course. You will also see a weighted total and a total both. The total gives you the total number of points adding all the way up to 1,000. The weighted total is actually calculating their grade to date. And note that for the weighted total, it calculates based on the number of items that have been graded. So if a student does not turn something in and continues not to turn something in, and you leave that blank, the weighted total does not take into account the 0 grade for that. So you actually have to go in and put in a 0 for a grade on a missed assignment in order for that to be reflected in the total and in the weighted total. I also wanted to point out that you can hover over each of the titles of the gradebook and see information about that item. For instance, I'm hovering over attendance, and if you look at the little gray bar at the top of the gradebook, it says possible 250, attendance 5 of 5 students have submitted. So it gives you a kind of a quick view of where you are on that gradebook item. The next item over is labeled Final Presentation. As you see, it says possible points 100 there at the top of the gradebook screen. Instructor choice is actually the category of that gradebook item. And we'll keep looking across. The next items, as we keep scrolling right, are the involvement, the 4 involvement credit pieces. After that, we have the 3 reflections. Next, we have the weeks 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on, daily journaling check-ins. So thus far, everything in the gradebook has been organized by category. The same persists, though, for the next items, which are the small assignments. And as I hover over time management assignment, for instance, you see at the grade information bar a possible 10 points. Assignments is the category, time management is the name of that assignment. And so that small assignment category includes the involvement quiz, time management, learning styles, mindset, grit, and so on. Finally, the wellness and learning inventory survey items, 3 of them are here at the end of the gradebook. Some of you have asked if you can trade out some of your own assignments for these small assignments I have provided. That is absolutely fine with me, and if you need help from me on how to build that or kind of rebuild that in the gradebook, I'm happy to help you do that. My only real concern is that you know how to replace one thing in another, so one thing with another, so that it does not skew your gradebook points or mess up the calculatable weighted average. So just let me know if you need my help working on any of that, any changes you want to make. So as a quick look at the student My Grades view, they also see these items arranged in the same order, and they can see the due dates that are provided for each of these items right there in the My Grades. I love that fact that the due dates are there, as are the rubrics. So I have created a rubric for the involvement type assignments, and it's a fairly simple rubric about what is included and the level of thought behind it. I found last year that my students really looked at the rubrics, and so once or twice when I forgot to use the rubric and just gave me a grade, they called me, gave them a grade, they called me on it. Good that they were paying attention, right? Because somehow it had slipped my mind. But the rubrics are there just to help give you a uniform sense of what to look for. And if you really want to get down into the weeds and change the rubrics to suit your own teaching style, that is also okay with me. There is a reflection rubric that has a little bit more detail to it. And I'm seeing this by looking at the student view My Grades. It's a really easy way to access some of that information. So there's the rubric on reflections. The daily journaling, I have not offered a rubric on because that to me is more about checking that something is done or not done or half done. And so I do not plan to read their journals intensively. I just want to see that they're invested in the process. And so if they've done it all, they get all the points. And if they've done half of it, they get half the points. That's how I would do that on my own. The small assignments have a kind of a generic small assignment rubric that measures whether they submitted what they were supposed to in terms of content, whether it was thoughtful, whether what they submitted was relevant to the assignment. And those are really the only rubrics that are here. The survey is just a self-graded item, so it does not involve a rubric and you do not need to grade it. As far as how to grade goes, it's not that complicated. You will see when a student submits something, you'll see this yellow exclamation point that tells you that there's something that needs grading. If a student accesses something but does not quite finish submitting it, you'll see this kind of blue pie shape, like something that's partly done. And sometimes that's an indication to me that a student was trying to submit something but it didn't come through. So I might reach out to that student and see what's going on or see if they're having issues. At the very beginning of the semester, I found that they needed some help just learning how to submit assignments, but it's worth them learning that because they're going to need that for every class. So to grade this assignment, if I just clicked on the yellow exclamation point, I would have a place to enter the grade. But this is actually an assignment that has a rubric attached. So I'm going to use this grade drop down and I'm going to scroll down to attempt 72120. And then that's actually going to take me to this view where I can see their assignment, whatever they've put in it. This is just a silly example I made, so there's very little there to work with. Submission text, if they did an attachment, that would be there as well. So in order to grade this using the rubric, I'm going to click this little drop down under attempt, and that gives me reflection rubric used for grading. And I can actually click the rubric, which is here in kind of long form. And if I want to see the details on the rubric, and me being me, that's what I always want to see, then I can click this little box here to view the full rubric in a window. And I just like to go there so I know what I'm doing and remember. After I've used a rubric enough times, I kind of remember it, but at the beginning, I'm not so sure I know it. So here I have the actual rubric with the descriptions, and I can click on items in that to grade the assignment and even offer some feedback within the rubric if I feel that that's important or necessary. And so I have now graded this. I'm going to save it. And now the total points that the student earned for this assignment based on the rubric are shown here. And then I can just save that and move on to the next one. I'll also point out that if I want to just grade, not click through the little details of the gradebook, but just I'm going to grade everybody's reflection 1 right now, I can click the grade drop down next to the title of that area within the gradebook. I will go up here to grade attempts, and then it's going to let me cycle through everybody who has submitted an assignment. It'll kind of bring up one after the other, and that's a really handy way to knock those out.